Okay, so what we're going to do now is use the cabochon system that Tuffnell sell. So we're going to make a small cabochon like this, and in the base of it you'll see there's a small nut. This nut means that it can attach to a ring. So I'm just screwing that in there, so it then becomes an interchangeable piece of jewellery. Now to make these you need to have a mandrel like this, and this has a screw on one end, or in fact it has a screw on both ends. It's got two size cabochons that you can use with it. This one's got, I'm not sure of the size of this, it looks like probably a 12mm top on there, but there's one that's even bigger. Or you could, if you wanted to, just work, if you want to do something that's much smaller, just with the nut screwed on the top. So obviously with the nut you don't want the glass to come off, so you don't dip that in bead release, but you do put a little bit of bead release onto your screw so that you can then screw your nut on top. With the cabochon you want to dip your base and your screw, but not your nut, so that you can release your glass once you've made your cabochon. So we'll do a little one to start with. So what I'm going to do is just heat the nut till it's red hot. It's just going to flame a little bit and that becomes hot. So you don't want to have it super duper hot or it'll start melting. So just heat that up and then take whatever glass you're going to use. I'm going to use some black now because I think I might use some silver to decorate. So working around the nut but not flopping over the edge, just put on a wrap of glass and then you can actually just make a small round end there. And I'm just working up, so I'm coming up over the top of the nut. You can also get pendant holders in this system, and they screw in from the top. So if you're making a bead that was going to go on a pendant where it was screwing into, you want to work so that you imagine your pendant is coming in from the top here. But obviously if you're making a ring, then it's going to sink that way up because you're screwing it down. So you want to be aware of what you're doing, that the underneath is flat, so that you get a nice domed edge for your ring. So in order to do that, I'm going to take my marver, and the graphite marver is fine, and just rotate against that marver just to flatten off the top a little bit so that I've got something to work with. And then I'm going to go back to my black glass, which is dark, intense black. No, it's not intense black, it's the dark black, sorry.
Deep black.
Deep black, that's the one. And put a wrap around here. So the important thing with this is to make sure that you don't let your nut go cool, because if you do, your glass will start cracking, so always be aware of what's happening. So I'm just working this till I get a nice disc on the end. So when you don't have a cabochon disc underneath, you can just do whatever you want in terms of shape. You can have a very small ring, you could make rings of different shapes. You're not stuck with a flat surface, although you could use only part of this cabochon. If you have difficulty in keeping the underneath flat, you don't have to make it to the edges. You could just use it as something to rest the glass on while you're making a smaller ring. I hope that makes sense. Right, so now we've got a nice top. I'm going to take some silver black glass and I'm going to put some spots just around the outside edge. Let that last dot just cool off before I start working more. And then I'm going to just work on the side of the flame and draw those dots towards the heat. So what I'm thinking about is what the very centre of my ring is going to look like. So you can see there's a little bit of silver coming up from that silver black. So now I'm going to take some dark purple, trans purple this is, and I'm going to go wrap around the outside edge, make the ring a little bit bigger. So if you get a rod that breaks off, just heat up and just remove any brass that's excess by heating it up and then just tweezing it off. Back to your rod. So make sure your nut stays hot, and you can use your marble again just to shape the side of your ring, sorry, the underside of the ring. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some double helix, and I'm going to do some dots around the outside edge. And then I'm going to take my Triton again, and I'm going to just spot right in the middle. So the way I'm going to apply this is to, keeping this warm, is heat up the end of the rod, and then I'm going to place this in the middle of the ring, so it's still attached to the rod. Melt off the rod and then just work that so that we get a nice little central bubble. And then we'll put the propane over there. So propane rich flame, so that will draw out all the different silver and silver glass, and then I'm going to just finish decorating by adding some spots and dots around this. So I'm going to go over that silver black that we used. And then using the dark turquoise, I'm going to go around the outside edge. I just need to put a bit more propane so I can see where that Triton is, because I've got some of it off. It's great. And I'll just put a final waft of propane over there so we bring out that silver in the centre. So there you've got a little cabochon. So when you're using a cabochon mandrel, you want to make sure, like with the large hole mandrel, mandrels, you need to make sure that the metal is really hot and that your bead release is well heated, so that the glass doesn't peel off as you're trying to adhere it. Now, there are lots of different ways of doing cabochon mandrels. The way that I like to do them is to start from the centre, so whether you've got a nut like we have on this Eezzy system, or whether you've just got a little post in the middle there, you can use that to adhere your glass to. So I'm using the sky blue here, and I'm just coming right up to that nut, angling my rod of glass and just coming around. So just take your time, don't force it, make sure that you angle your mandrel, keep your glass rod in the flame so that you're getting a full coating onto this cabochon flat, and then you need to make sure that you're just overhanging the edge there. Not too far, but just because it will shrink a little bit because the glass will draw up towards the centre. So once you come all the way around, then obviously you've still got that nut showing in the middle. So we want to cover that up. So I'm just going to pop some heat around the outside just so that nothing peels off when I start working on the middle section. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, working from the middle, but this time I'm going to cover up that nut. So the thing that you need to think about with this is what colour you're going to use, because if you use a transparent, then you're going to be able to see that see the nut through the glass. So unless you're going to decorate on top of it, just bear that in mind. So I'm just filling up the gaps. So I've loaded a nice lot of glass onto that. So now I'm going to heat up So all through the process it's important that you keep the back warm as well as the front, because it's a big piece of metal there, and if it gets cold your glass will peel off. So I'm just working to get a nice smooth finish, so you can see the flames just on the edge of that cabochon. So you can hold it upright as well, so that the glass falls back and you get a nice clean even top, but remember to keep rotating it the whole time. So once you've got your base of whatever colour, then it's really up to you what you do with it. You could put this in some frit, you could use some silver glass on there, you could use silver wire, you could put marinis over it, pretty much anything really. I'm going to put some dots on there, I think.